No doubt you've got one of those fancy digital cameras, or you've got a camera on your phone which you use to take photos for Facebook, Instagram, or other various social media. Now, have you ever noticed that on some of these they have an expert setting which has things like ISO and all this other stuff that, to be honest, I have no idea what it's actually about. Well, today, for Skilla Day September, on the 6th day of September, I've decided to learn about these expert buttons and seeing what I can learn from that today. So, I will take some photos short just as they are, then I'll try playing with some of those expert settings to see what I can achieve, and then I'll do a little bit of research and do some more photos of the same items again, and seeing if throughout the day I can improve the quality of the photos. Because I've always wondered, how do those expert buttons actually work and what do they actually do? And hopefully I can explain to you today what they actually mean. So I'm standing outside next to the acacia tree and found out that when I take photos I have an automatic button, so every time I've got to do the expert button, sometimes I tap that and it undoes everything and sets it to expert mode. So I'm going to keep trying and hopefully getting some decent photos. So there's a couple of things I learned about phone cameras, and when you do the expert mode or different settings, I know something called ISO, SWB, MF/AF, and EV. ISO means whether the picture is going to be clearer or blurrier. You know, if you want that kind of misty looking water and all that sort of stuff, or a sharper sort of image, that's what that one, the ISO one's for. The shutter one, that's all about how much light you're letting in. Obviously a longer shutter means it's going to let light in for longer, things can look a little bit blurrier, but that's apparently meant to be for movement and how quickly things are moving and things like that. There's also one which is WB, which I think that means like warm and blue, because it seems that on one end of the scale it seems to be warmer in colours, like your reds and your oranges, and eventually it gets to a yellow sort of colour, and then blue, which is a very sort of cold sort of colours. So if the lighting doesn't seem right to match up what you're trying to take a photo of, I found that that's what that's all about. And then there's one that was MF/AF. So one end of the scale was MF and one end of the scale was AF. And that seemed to be when you put something that was in front of the camera or further away. So for example, this is something that's really up close. And in the background, past me, you can see, where's my hand? Hold on. Behind there is the ceiling, which is further away. So if I wanted paper to be the image on the screen, then that's kind of how I would do that. I would change that setting until it seemed to be right. And finally, EV, which I've seen this on a previous phone before as well. That seems to be how much light you sort of let in, like how bright it's going to be, the exposure. It does say on some other cameras and things like that. Soon I'll show you the final product of what I've learnt along the way, plus from some tips from online as to how to take some better photos of plants. And then I'll compare the original photo that I took with no knowledge versus the photo with knowledge. And as far as I'm aware, I know now how to use those functions of the phone. So to me, that is a skill used. I know how to use expert mode in a camera. I just have to have the patience in which to be able to use it. That's all.